Okay, guys, welcome to another one of my review. This time I continued. I'll turn back this time, right? I watched the first episode last time, and I said I would continue it because I really enjoyed the first episode. So I continued it, and I watched the second episode, and it wasn't really giving what I wanted it to give. I wasn't 100% loving it. Uh, the first episode was, as I said in the previous video, it was a it was a good setup, right? It just set up the thing that's supposed to be traumatic that will lead to the time travel or whatever. I was like, okay, I like that. And it also has some little, comedic moments here and there with the guy and the girl, right? So it was all good. It was all good. I was really vibing with that. So it got me really excited to see the second episode. And the second episode started, in my opinion, it started very performatively, with the guy at the hospital, and then when they brought his body, he took a minute to uncover the sheet. And realistically, when you look at something like that, you're like, oh, that makes sense, and obviously it does, right? But the way the scene was done, it did not feel like somebody that's really lost somebody they loved. It just felt like it was being acted out. And I'm not coming against, the acting skill of the person. No, I don't think it's even his acting skills that's in question here. It's just the entire vibe of the scene. It didn't really feel as heavy or as sad as it needed to be. It just felt like it was following those, I don't know how to say it, like those little step of, okay, somebody dies, somebody cries, those kind of stuff, right? But it wasn't making me feel that somebody is actually dead and somebody is crying. You know what I'm trying to say? It did not really make me feel that. And that when the second episode started and I saw that, I was a little bit worried. I'm not going to lie to you. I was a little bit worried. I was like, this is giving performative, and I don't really vibe with that. And then it went directly into his necklace blinking, and all of a sudden he's in a car. And then he gets out of the car and he bumps into a girl who then, what do you call it? He then sees the time from the girl's watch, and now he's like, oh my God, I went back in time and stuff. And in my mind, I'm like, what? For me, if something bad was to happen to somebody I care about, and later on I see myself in a car and bump into a person and I see at times saying that, wait, you've gone back in time, I will not take it as a natural fact. I would assume that I may be in a dream, that I'm having a dream of the time before I met this person or the time before this person died or whatever. That's what I would think of, at the very least, me, right? But for the character, in his mind, was like, oh, time travel. And then he, he walked directly to the guy's house and hugged him. And that I understand because he's like, I need to see this guy. So he went there and he hugged him. And the other guy was like, yo, get off me, right? Reasonably, obviously. And then he got off him and he went to, the girl and the guy's place. And then there I don't know, that his entire vibe in all these scenes was not of somebody that had really lost someone. It felt as though he was good, as in nothing really just happened a few like scenes ago where the guy got crushed with a freaking fucking car, right? It's like that did not happen. It just felt like that part of the story has kind of been taken out. The heavy part of it that's supposed to make you break. You see, when you watch this Make Our Days Count, Make Our Days Count history, right? It's called History, Make Our Days Count. I don't know which number though. I don't know whether it's History 2 or History 3, but it's titled Make Our Days Count. And in that story, the ninth and 10th episode, I think that's the last two episodes, something tragic happened and it really reflected in the last episode that no matter who you are, you can watch that episode and not really feel like super sad or actually cry through it all, right? Like that happiness that is there was missing in the story. It wasn't really there anymore. It just felt like it was a setup that was needed for the guy to go back in the past and do whatever. That's how it kind of felt like. It just felt like the real stuff, or like the dude dying and all that stuff, it just kind of went away. And I don't know, I did not like that, right? And on top of that, there was another thing that I did not really like, and that was when the guy tried to get the other guy. I actually don't know how to pronounce their names. So let's say, I think his name is Shen Nan or something, right? I suck at that. He told the guy, he tried to get the guy to go into some sort of painting competition, right? And he presented the guy with the ticket, and the guy was like, yo, don't mess with my life like that, blah blah blah. And then it was a very dramatic scene, and there was even a rainbow and a yelling scene, and then later on they went to somewhere else and they yelled some more drunk. It was like, it was a lot, right? But for me, I was watching all this stuff and it felt so unrealistic to me. Because again, I think the guy's name is Shin Wen or something like that, right? The guy who died. Again, with him, from his perspective, he doesn't know this person, right? And the first thing that he has encountered with this person is that the person came out to hug him and then broke into his house. Yes, I forgot to mention that. He broke into his house. Right, from his perspective, a stranger came to hug him, broke into his house, and days later is telling him to go for a competition when he doesn't know anything about him, when the stranger doesn't know anything about him. Like, in that moment, realistically, you will not be crying out your fears and your all this and all that to that person because you don't know the person. You don't, right? So though all that scene, which they made it very dramatic, it felt flat to me because nobody would do that. At the very least, from that perspective of this person being a stranger to you, what he would have said that would have probably been realistic, in my opinion, would have been like, "Yo, I don't know you like that, okay? Who even told you that I wanted to do painting? Well, mind your business and leave me alone. Or if you don't mind your business, I'm gonna kick you out, okay?" Like he could have just basically told him stuff that just showed that I've only known you for 2 days, and that's what he has known. That's how long he had known him for, 2 days. So it just felt weird as to how they were having all these dramatic moments, and how the guy was now obsessed with him drawing and him this, and how all of a sudden he felt like he was relying heavily on him, for the colorblind stuff and all that stuff. It felt like the story had skipped certain steps, like if those steps were put in place, everything would have made sense, right? But it just felt like the story had skipped certain steps and was just getting to these parts. And at some point, watching the story started to feel like a fan service, like how you see them fan servicing videos. It started to feel like that and less of an actual story, in my opinion. And I was a little bit disappointed by that. I'm not going to lie, because I did enjoy the first episode. I really did. So I wanted the second one to, even if it's not going to be the gracious thing or not, I still wanted it to be good enough for me to enjoy. But it just, I don't know. The story felt rushed. It also felt a little bit fan servicing, and some of the moments felt very performative. Even the rainy scene where they had that argument about the competition, that too looked very performative in a way. It was like, okay, I'm sorry. It did not really flow in the way that I wanted it. Okay, again, that's my opinion. Okay. And then there was also another part in the story where somewhere in the early part, after the guy had come back into the past, um, we were given a scene where he was all of a sudden talking to a guy in the dark, and the guy is kind of letting him know that he has traveled back into the past or something. And that also felt a bit disconnected to me. Maybe I'm watching a different version of the story, but that too just, it felt very random, and they never talked about it again. It never came up again in the episode. It just, that is it. And I don't know what to do with that. Honestly, I really did not. Overall, I didn't like these choices in the episode. I did not. Okay, these are my opinions. But it still wasn't something that was very boring to watch. It wasn't boring to watch, but I did not like the way they handled the storytelling. I still kind of liked it, but I didn't love it as much as I thought I would, right? I kind of liked it. And yeah, but I'm not so sure whether I would be excited to watch a third episode. That I'm not so sure. I may, obviously. I may at some point. I may, but I'm not so sure that I may watch it. I don't know. Anyway, that's my opinions on the second episode of I Will Turn Back This Time. Yeah, bye bye.